Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, and today we're talking air. Yeah, air. We discuss speeding up the potatoes and flailing the fire out of some grass and weeds without fire. Yeah, that'll make sense maybe. Or just a special type of mower, or both. So let's do it. All right, everyone, welcome to Tilt Tuesday, your weekly reminder that you can get living soil compost and potting mixes from the bonafide nerds over there at Tilt Soil. Check out Nathan on the Composter Podcast, Season 4, Episode 3, or head to tiltsoil.com to learn more. I hope everyone is having the week of their dreams. Obviously, my voice is a little tender still, but I actually feel really good. Again, my colds just seem to take root in the way, that I sound, which is nice for how I feel, but super convenient for a podcaster. But anyway, I did some tomato grafting yesterday. That was fun. It was cold outside, so it was a good chance to bust that particular job out inside. However, this was without a doubt the smallest the plants have ever been for me to do the grafting. They were probably a full 1.5 times smaller than when I usually graft them. Graft meaning I take the top off of the fruit plant that I want and put it on the rootstock that I want, which is they tend to be super vigorous and disease resistant, which increases the yields. And anyway, I figured this was a good opportunity to see how small I could graft them, and beyond slowing the process down a fair amount because of how small they are, it does seem to have worked fine, so that's nice to see. I'll keep you updated on the progress as they heal in the warm, dark closet this week. And if you all try some grafting or anything fun this winter as we're headed into the spring season, send us a 20-second farm video clip about how it goes or whatever cool projects you're working on, like that one that Colin Ince sent us yesterday about their grow box out there in Utah. That was very cool. Send those to farmermike@no-tillgrowers.com. You all rock. Also, speaking of sending stuff, sending some love to our friends in the Northeast dealing with the blizzard right now. Seeing a few tunnels go down, and that is such a bummer. I'm super sorry, you all. Hopefully the damage is minimal, and I guess, I don't know, I guess this is a good time to remind everyone to insure those tunnels, friends. The weather don't mess around sometimes. So wishing you all a speedy and healthy and full recovery. All right, so in my usual transition fashion, super smooth, I was weeding some purple nettle out of a bed of garlic the other day, which I have my concerns about a couple of those garlic beds for the weeds that are coming through them, but that's for a different day. Anyway, this was like Friday, which if you watch Friday's episode, you will catch some of the irony here, but a neighbor started burning some plastic, and this is not uncommon in the countryside. People will just throw their trash in with their wood fires or whatever, and as someone who works outside, it is absolutely brutal to breathe it in. A bonfire, some wood smoke, it's not my favorite thing, but I can deal with that. But burning plastic is intense, and not to mention incredibly bad for the environment, and especially for those who have to work in the fumes like me. But that got me thinking about air and air pollution. So I'm excited to welcome you all to today's rant that I'm calling Air Pollution Fun Time. All right, so I feel like the term air pollution is not something I hear very much anymore, not like we used to, at least when I was growing up. And frankly, that is kind of wild to me because statistically, it is one of the leading causes of disease burden and premature death in the world. Like, for real, the air. I watched a talk with Dr. Sarah Adder in which she described how we are essentially losing the population of Los Angeles every year due to outdoor air pollution alone. Yeah, 4 million premature deaths each year because what's in the air that we breathe. That is bananas. But is it so surprising? We live in a world of exhaust and fumes, and far more than anything else, it is the air we invite most into our bodies every single minute of every single day from the moment we're born until the moment we die. Our bodies have to process an enormous amount of air every day and in our lifetimes. And the result is that researchers can see links from air pollution to asthma, of course. That one kind of makes sense. There would be some connection there, but also other non-communicable diseases, such as like heart disease. Even dementia is linked to air quality, which is frankly a disease I have way too much experience with in my family. According to the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, outdoor air pollution is one of the top contributors to morbidity globally. It's in 6th place, but when combined with indoor air pollution, just like whatever's in your house or where you work, it is second. Then when you throw the threat of airborne microplastics into the mix, you start to see how the future for our kids and grandkids is looking pretty rough unless we decide to collectively do something about it now, which we can do about the exhaust from our cars, about our agriculture, about our energy production, all of it, which I will touch on those individually in depth over time. We see all these health gurus who tell us that we should be eating this or that thing, taking this or that supplement, drinking this or that probiotic. But how many of them are like, dudes, we for real need to fix the air, or whatever supplement you're taking is an absolute waste of money? Probably none of them are saying that, because, what you eat is easier to fix and more profitable for them than saying we have to do something about air pollution on a pretty enormous scale. Luckily, I'm not unwilling to say that we need to do something about air pollution on a pretty enormous scale, but it doesn't start with the policies necessarily. It starts with us wanting to and believing that we can, and changing the public perception from, oh, that's idealistic or unrealistic to think we can do that, to, no, we can do this. It's just, it's just going to take work. Changing the public perception from, oh, I'll just burn this plastic, to we don't burn plastic anymore. That's completely barbaric. Those of you who listened on Friday, one of the things I said that day was to imagine the freshest breath you've ever taken. Imagine you're back on that hike, or, that body of water, or on that mountain, wherever it was that you had that memorable breath of fresh air that just felt so refreshing and so replenishing. And imagine that you could have that breath every day for every breath. To me, that's achievable, or at least it is for the coming generations. It is achievable if we can reduce our outputs and exhausts. Then the plants, like the green ones, not the power ones, and trees and oceans can do the rest to filter it. I'm a sports fan. This is important. This is a necessary segue here, as you know, and as any sports fan will tell you, when you love your team, you hold out hope until the last possible minute or second that you can still win, that there is always a chance to come back and do something special. It's ridiculous, but every once in a while, you witness history and you absolutely lose it, and it's glorious. I hate that thinking the world could be awesome is considered idealistic, because it's 100% possible, especially because this is not the fourth quarter or the last drive or the dying seconds of the earth. We're well into the game for sure, but there is still more than enough time on the clock to make a comeback. I'm neither idealistic nor unrealistic in that way. I'm a competitor, and if there's still a path to winning, I'm going to fight for it and rally my team. That's you all, hopefully. We have not lost yet. In fact, as long as there is still water, sunlight, and plants, we can recover this rock. So we're actually in a great place to win this, all things considered. And what does this winning, quote unquote, look like? Where every breath you take is the freshest one you've ever taken, and you do not need to worry about what you're breathing in. When every breath your children take is fresher than any breath you've ever had access to. That's it. That's the goal, the win. It is that simple. Moreover, when we focus on air pollution, we help solve water issues, we save lives, we increase abundance. Solving this is not about solving it for you personally, though. That would not solve it for our children or grandchildren, right? I mean, you could do that if you want to go get an air filter or whatever for your house, but that's not good enough, and that's not really what I'm talking about. If it doesn't help the next generation, then it's not helping. What's good enough is a nationwide cultural and political change. It would require filling up forests and reducing deforestation and repairing wetlands and other ecologies, which could, as a bonus, help stabilize extreme weather and also have awesome places to go visit. A significant amount of effort would have to be put into improving our power grid and improving and implementing more renewable energy. And of course, cars and vehicles would have to change significantly, fire management in drier regions as well, less tillage and exhaust from agriculture, all the things. People talk about the inefficiencies with renewable energy, but never acknowledge how even the most inefficient renewables are a substantial upgrade health-wise to what we use now, such as coal and gas and that sort of stuff. Not to mention the sun rains down something like enough sunlight every day to power the entire planet for multiple years, depending on which estimate you want to use. That's the conservative one. Air pollution is not the only issue in the world, but my golly, when I think about what it would mean to address air pollution and the many problems that get solved in the process of addressing air quality, I see nothing but opportunity. I see a giant W, a dub, as they call it. That was my rabbit hole for this weekend. Spilling into a Tuesday segment for you to comment on. Let me know your all's thoughts, ideas, interesting tidbits about air pollution, sports analogies. Love those. Go for it. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, speeding up the potato harvest, which I could probably go for new potato salad right about any time, all the time. Anyway, maybe not that fast, but BRB.
Hey, Farmer Jesse. This is our indoor seed propagation for when it's a little too chilly to put anything out.
Today's episode is brought to you by Certified Naturally Grown. Certified Naturally Grown is the grassroots certification built by farmers for farmers. C&G gives local growers like you recognition for the commitment of producing food without synthetic chemicals by assuring customers that your practices are verified. C&G's peer review inspection model keeps the cost of certification low while creating opportunities for knowledge sharing amongst a strong, supportive network of like-minded farmers. Apply today to be certified before the season ramps up. Applications processed within 7 days. Learn more at naturallygrown.org. All right, back to the show.
If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere that questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Colleen Stowell, who writes, quote, "Hi, Jesse. I live in Zone 5B, Michigan. Last year, I grew 2 rounds of potatoes, planted in mid-May and dug up in July for baby potatoes, then replanted immediately to harvest again in September. My harvests were small and not sure it was worth the trouble. My yield was about the same as if I just left them to size up and harvested once, with a lot less work. I was looking for ways to grow faster and found a few references to growing under frost blankets. The idea is the frost blankets hold in the heat and let the potatoes grow sooner, bigger, and then ready to harvest earlier. I'm curious to try growing 2 rounds this year with the row covers to see if the yield is better. Have you tried this?" End quote. All right, so good questions here, Colleen. First, if you're trying to replant the potatoes that you already grew, you should go back and listen to our episode about that. Potatoes really need a curing period, so it's going to take them a lot longer to germinate if that's what you're doing, but I kind of suspect that's not necessarily what you're doing. But I did want to just make that clear that you should always use cured potatoes to start your next round of potatoes. Now, if you're just wanting baby potatoes in general, there are a few things you can do to speed things up. One is to get the fastest growing potatoes you can, usually called like early season potatoes. And Yukon Gold is a classic example of an early season potato, but there are several and they are faster to maturity than your average potato. So one option is just to get short season and long season potatoes and like spread out your harvests that way. Or if for space reasons, you can't grow 2 potatoes at the same time, getting 2 shorter season potato varieties will help. The next thing is just planting earlier. May seems pretty late even for Michigan 5B. You can usually plant potatoes 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost, give or take. So probably like, what would that be, like April for you? For us, it's like March. What we will do to help speed the process along is to use tarps over the potatoes until they break the surface, but you could use, row cover to help warm the soil as well. Sure, no issues with that, I see. What I like about the tarps or burlap row covers, what we're going to start experimenting with now, is not only that it warms the soil, but that it also helps to reduce weeds and keep any loose soil in place better than, say, leaving a freshly broken up soil or furrow exposed to rain, especially somewhere like Michigan, where, similar to us, often gets some ridiculous rainfalls. So indeed, that will help speed things up a little bit. If they pop before the last chance of hard frost, like if they poke through the surface, I would protect those little young plants. Like potatoes can take a light frost, but you don't want them, just getting flattened, burned to the ground to the point that you have to restart or can't regrow from that same eye. Or indeed, just hill them up as much as you can during those periods to keep them covered until you're, in the clear weather-wise. For some perspective, I will be planting my potatoes in mid-March, assuming they have, arrived by then, with our last chance of frost being early May here. I usually cover them with a tarp until they, pop through the soil. This year, I'm going to try burlap, like I said. I hill them up, mulch them if I can, and then I go from there. But I will be planting all varieties all at once. And not really doing a late season potato this year. I have had good success with later season potatoes, to be clear, and the potato beetles don't seem like to care as much about those, which is nice, but the yields haven't been quite as impressive. I assume for the heat and the dryness of the summer, mulch would be an absolute must for those later crops to get the most out of them. Anyway, I hope that's all helpful. We're going to take a quick break, and then it's tool time. This tool time, the flail mower, which, when you say it out loud, kind of sounds like an incredibly dangerous type of mower. Flail mower. Anyway, be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tend. Farming is hard, running it shouldn't be. Meet Tend, the purpose-built platform built by farmers for farmers. Plan your season, map your farm, and track every task from seed to sale. No more spreadsheets, no more guesswork, just smart, seamless workflows. Tend adapts to your farm, 1 acre or 100. Real-time inventory, sales, labor, tracking, traceability, and analytics all in one place. You grow food, flowers, fruit, and more. Tend helps you to grow smarter. Start free today at tend.com. That's TEND.com. All right, back to the show.
All right, as is our aim on Tuesdays, I like to use this day to talk about not just some random rant from my, like my weekend explorations, but a tool. Today, that tool is more of a design than a tool. The tool itself is the mower, but the design I want to talk about is the mulching or flail mower. I rely heavily on this tool on my farm for reasons that will make sense presently, but essentially what the flail mower is a mower that chops and drops whatever it is you are wanting to mow right down on the surface as opposed to shooting it backwards or out the side or whatever the case may be for other mowers. The other side of this tool is much like the mowers, not named the sickle bar mower, it also is shredding the material up. So the reason that it's considered a mulching mower is that it shreds the plant material and sets that plant material right back on the surface where it got it. The design is typically that the blades will spin opposite of what the typical mower blades will. So if you can think of mower blades spinning parallel to the soil, the flail mower blades spin perpendicular. Basically, they come flying right at the soil surface, which can come in handy, as we shall see momentarily. That said, I also have an electric mower that spins parallel to the soil, but it discharges out the back, so that way that you can put a bag on it and collect the material, which I sometimes do for the compost pile. But if I shut that back, if I take the bag off, then it has a similar effect of just putting the material right back down where it had mowed it, not dissimilar to, say, a bush hog. The difference is that the flail mower lays it down more evenly than your average mower, your like rear discharge or no discharge mowers like the bush hog. But the other difference is that the flail mower, when set low enough, can help in certain situations to flip beds from one crop to another. This is especially true in deep composting situations where the top 2 inches of the soil aren't soil at all or really don't have much going on at all except for kind of loose compost. So if you were to grow a lettuce crop and simply, mow that lettuce crop after it is kaput with a low flail mowing set to mow this like right at the soil surface or just above with a powerful enough motor, I have a 13 horsepower BCS walk behind tractor, you would effectively kill the previous crop and prep for the next crop at the same time. Bed flips can be extremely slow, so this is a huge advantage. It's not always a perfect trick, but in certain circumstances, like say I'm planting a cover crop next or transplant a crop like fall brassica or something, then it's an incredibly fast way to turn a bed over. Now, if you don't have the mulch layer of compost, the flail mower bed flip is not quite as effective, or at least you really have to pay close attention to the moisture. If the soil surface of the bed is moist at all, the low flail mowing could cause compaction. So like if it's not a compost mulch, you just have to watch out for it being too moist, or otherwise you're just going to get these slick spots. But that flail mowing can speed up the transition from one crop to another significantly in the right conditions and situations. The only situation that we ever have with it is a little bit of grow back from the previous crop, and certain crops like brassicas don't really work well for that. You really have to cut those below the soil surface to terminate them. As I often say, the biggest weed on our farm is often the previous crop because we always try to keep the roots in the soil from that crop as much as possible to help feed the soil microbes, but that comes with occasionally they want to grow back. Another area where we use the flail mower is with cover crops. Mow low enough that it can terminate or mostly terminate a cover crop. However, a tall rye cover crop can bog down the mower, like basically any of these flail mowers. So what we do is we want to mow and clear the residue, which for certain crops might be preferred. You would mow it high once, like just kind of lift the mower up and mow it really tall. Then you do another pass and mow it low. That way it doesn't bog it down as much. Then you would prep the bed for the next crop. If it's tomatoes, for instance, you might just like dig the holes and plant. If it's carrots or something, you would want to, like rake that material off, lightly harrow the surface, and then plant your carrots. Those are nuanced techniques that require some practice, but I thought I would give a little bit of an ode to the flail mower today as a tool that I love and have used in a million different ways around the farm. I don't know, millions maybe a stretch, but a lot of different ways around the farm, from terminating cover crops to mulching beds to managing weeds and living pathways and more. They also make flail mowers for tractors with a bag on the back to catch the flailed material, which could make it an excellent composting or mulching tool. Anyway, let me know your all's questions, thoughts, ideas, concerns about this tool. Otherwise, I think we're done here for this till Tuesday. Don't forget, No Till Growers is a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Hannah for absolutely everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-till-growers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you sign up in the month of February, you get a shout on the show. So big shout outs today to Riley Bricko. Riley Bricko, that's fun. Thank you, Riley. All right, so you will remember from yesterday's story, our billionaire friend, I don't know if he's a friend, we'll call him our billionaire, Chad, has just had his heart broken by his longtime girlfriend and decided to pull off on the side of the road and take a walk through a trail that he sees there. It's a clear hiking trail, so it's not like some homeboys just like marching onto somebody's land, but hiking is not usually his thing. So anyway, he starts off in the path, just like thinking and, wanting to walk it off and needing to clear his head and all those things. And the path starts to loop upwards, and towards the top of the path, you can kind of see it's getting a little bit steeper and the canopy starting to clear out a little bit. But he's really enjoying it, and it's getting a little harder, but he's having fun, and he's feeling like this fresh air on his face, and he's just getting some clarity. And then he reaches the top and looks out over a vast landscape ahead of him, and everything changes. That is for Thursday, provided we have some signups, on the site. Ooh, is it SAGHT or SATIE or SYT something? Because, tech people. Anyway, thanks for watching and/or listening. We'll find out then. Bye.